A stable union is between a man and a woman. That's what Pope Leo XIV said at the First Vatican Core meeting on Friday. What do you guys think?
Beehive, where are you? We need you. Hello, my friend. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer, and apprentice alum Donald Trump has come for Beyonce. And Oprah, too. Remember just a few days ago, Stormy Daniels' former one-night stand was beefing with Taylor Swift and Bruce Springsteen? Well, he's at it again. The Trump University founder took to his social media platform, Truth Social, and shared the following today. How much did Kamala Harris pay Bruce Springsteen for his poor performance during her campaign for president? Why did he accept that money if he is such a fan of hers? Isn't that a major and illegal campaign contribution? What about Beyonce? And how much went to Oprah and Bono? I am going to call for a major investigation into this matter. Scared. Candidates aren't allowed to pay for endorsements, which is what Kamala did under the guise of paying for entertainment. That's a bold accusation. And if Kamala were a lot like Donald Trump, she would sue the F out of you, baby D. Baby D. In addition, this was a very expensive and desperate effort to artificially build up her sparse crowds. She was drawing bigger crowds than you. She was. Well, she lost, but whatever. They were good rallies. Don says it's not legal for these unpatriotic entertainers. This was just a corrupt and unlawful way to capitalize on a broken system. Yeah, hella broken. How else do you think Elon Musk was able to pump so much of his money into your campaign? Through a political action committee. Don wraps up his platitude today saying, thank you for your attention to this matter. Newsflash. The Federal Elections Commission is a government agency. You know who's the head of the government? Donald Trump. He has access to all of their findings and reports and information. The Federal Elections Commission's most recent records do not show that they paid Beyonce for appearing at the rally. And Oprah was not paid. And Bruce Springsteen was not paid. He is flooding the field, as they say. That's the term, right? Steve Bannon admitted to this recently. Oversaturate, distract, oversaturate, distract. It's a game tactic. And hey, nobody's asking how much you paid Amber Rose to speak at the RNC. She probably paid you. Thoughts? Let's discuss it all in the comments section.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has called those white South Africans who just relocated to United States cowards, saying that they are running away from their problem. Remember, on Monday, President Donald Trump granted the white South Africans refugee status to relocate and come and settle in the United States, saying that these white South Africans are facing racial discriminations in South Africa, and that South African governments are seizing their farms without compensating them. So President Donald Trump has granted them refugee status. About 59 of them on Monday, arrived in the United States, and President Cyril Ramaphosa, is not happy about this movement and these decisions of the white South Africans. He called them coward. He said that as South Africans, they don't run away from their problems. They face their problems. But running away from their problems, this white South Africans is a cowardice attitude. He said that South Africans are resilient. They don't run away from their problems. They face their problems to solve it. And the truth is that some South Africans are even happy that these white ones, relocated. They left South Africa to United States, but their president is not happy about it.
So about a week ago, we had 49 South African Afrikaners who left South Africa to pursue greener pastures in the United States of America. Of course, when they got to the United States of America, there was a lot of debate between political parties talking about, are these really refugees? Are these really people fleeing their country in fear of their lives? Or are these just immigrants leaving South Africa for better opportunities in the USA? And there was all these back and forth opinions and views. And this morning it became clear that President Cyril Ramaphosa, together with John Steenhuisen and a few other members of his cabinet, will be leaving to the USA to meet with President Donald Trump. And on Wednesday, they will deal with this issue as a matter of urgency. And whilst listening to the news this morning, it became very clear that this is the most important issue at the moment in our country. But let me tell you something, it is not. As a patriotic South African, as somebody who loves my country, I want to say this to our president and his entire cabinet who's going to the USA. There is something far more important than going to the United States of America to clear the air. Here's what it is. Dealing with the issue of crime in our country. It is spiraling out of control. And I am sad to say, and I'm going to say it loud and clear, our president, his cabinet, and everybody else can go to the United States of America and paint the best picture of South Africa as they want to. That's all good and well. But when they come back to South Africa, they're going to come back to a country that is riddled by crime. This is not to suggest that the people who left South Africa in the guise of being refugees are justified. This is not to suggest that the people who left South Africa claiming to be the victims of genocide, it's not to suggest that their claims are true, but it is to suggest that when President Ramaphosa and his cabinet comes back to South Africa, that they will land in a country that is absolutely dominated by crime. I want to tell you loud and clear, if the issue of crime is not dealt with from the top down, there's only so much the police can do. I think it's so much more effective when you get to hear the president say something about crime. And I'm a firm believer that there is power in leadership. I'm a firm believer that when something comes from the top, it's usually effective. For example, you remember not too long ago there was a new pope elected, and the pope said something that was common sense to many of us, right? The pope said, well, you know, when it comes to families, the church believes in marriage between man and woman. And the family is constituted of a mother and father. Suddenly what he said became the focal point of social media. It dominated every news headline, as if to say what he was saying was controversial. Yet he said something that was basic and something we grew up believing, right? Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because leadership has power. Other people say the same thing. It doesn't have so much of traction, but the Pope says it, and just look at how it dominates news headlines. Similarly, when our president speaks about issues, I can assure you it will dominate headlines.
Today I was at the White House for the bill signing for the Take It Down Act. The president is doing remarkable work to protect women and kids. He's the most pro-woman, pro-kid president we've had in U.S. history. So it was an honor to be there. State House Representative Brandon Guffey and his family were also there. As many of you know, probably know his story about his son. Brandon Guffey is working around the clock. So we support him in the legislation he's advocating for.
It was like under an hour yesterday, we watched the older American religious people go from Cardinal Bobby Prevost to Pope Leo, so they can do it. It's not how they were raised. They're just cherry-picking Bible bigots. They can do it. They can embrace people when they want to. Don't let them fool you. Please be kind to any Iowan transgender people you know. Apparently it's now completely legal to discriminate them in their state. And you know, once one state does it, they all do it. So please go out of your way to be kind to transgender people in Iowa today. Call your lawmakers. Make sure they know that upsets you.
Pope Leo XIV's grandparents were New Orleans 7th Ward Creoles, and his family goes back hundreds of years in Louisiana. I'm Devin Bartolotta with WWL Louisiana. I am a genealogy nerd, and I did some digging. This is the new Pope's grandparents' marriage record. Louise Baquet and Joseph Martinez were married in 1887. He had immigrated to New Orleans from Haiti during childhood. Louise had grown up in the 7th Ward. You can see it up here. This is her family on the 1870 census and the 1880 census. This is the 1900 census, so just a few years after Joseph and Louise were married, and they were living in a home on Prieur Street with 2 daughters. This home was torn down to build the Claiborne Overpass. By 1910, their family had really grown. They had a house full of daughters. They were living in a place on South Peters Street in the French Quarter at this time. And shortly after this 1910 census was taken, they would move the whole family from New Orleans to Chicago, and they would have another little girl. Her name was Mildred. And one day she would become the mother of the now Pope Leo XIV.